If you're new to ear training, there's one skill that would be a good idea to develop first. Ideally, the skill would be developed from the very beginning of your music study, since it makes other ear training possible, and it also facilitates working with a music teacher. It even makes for a suitable exercise for your very first music lesson. Without this skill, a teacher will have difficulty guiding your ear training progress. This skill is the ability to sing a note on pitch. Actually, it involves two skills. The first is hearing the right note, and the second is singing it back. This is how you can externalize what you hear. When you could sing back a note, a teacher will be able to tell that you're indeed hearing the right note. This is the best way for you to let someone else know what you're hearing. When working with new students, I'll often play a note and then ask a student to sing it back. La. Sometimes they'll sing a different note altogether, and this just shows us that we need to work first on the skill of hearing notes and singing them back so that we have a foundation for our future work. Now don't worry, you don't need to be an opera diva. You don't need to sing beautifully, and I certainly don't, that's for sure. And you don't even need a wide vocal range. It doesn't even need to be perfectly accurate, although you could develop accuracy over time. The note just needs to be recognizable, that's all. So if you're trying to sing, let's say, a concert A 440, actually my piano is tuned slightly higher, the Vienna standard. So if you're trying to sing an A, it doesn't necessarily have to be sung at exactly 440 vibrations per second, which is impossible anyway for the human voice. It just needs to be recognizable as an A. And it could even be an octave lower or an octave higher if that's more comfortable for your individual voice. Now, on the other hand, if you're supposed to sing an A and you end up singing, let's say, an E, then your teacher has no way of knowing whether you're not hearing the A or if you're just unable to sing it. You're probably not hearing it, that's my guess. Now, if you can't yet consciously hear all the notes in your music, don't worry. This is actually normal in the beginning stages of ear training, and it's a skill that you could develop with regular practice. Importantly, the skill of singing a note that you hear has nothing to do with perfect pitch. Perfect pitch is the ability to recognize any note by name upon hearing it. So for example, if you hear a random note played on a piano, let me try one. Then I hear a G. Yeah, there it is. That's perfect pitch. So if you hear a note, then you know what note it is. By the way, my perfect sense of perfect pitch is pretty limited. It's limited to the piano, and it could easily get overwhelmed, unlike some musicians who could just hear anything in any instrument. And then there are even some musicians who could tell you whether your piano is tuned to A 440 or if it's 441 or whatever. They could tell that immediately. So mine isn't quite that fine-tuned. So it has limitations. So I need both perfect pitch and relative pitch. That's another matter. Now, if you happen to have perfect pitch, then you'd be able to say the name of the note that you hear, but it's not necessary to be able to sing a note that you hear. You don't need perfect pitch in order to develop this skill. If you're an instrumentalist, do you really need to learn to sing? So if you're a pianist or another instrumentalist, you might be wondering why you should even bother learning to sing. The most important reason is that singing, and particularly solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, in solfege, the note names themselves are vocalized. This kind of singing allows you to learn music on a much deeper level than mere muscle memory. So ear training helps you to learn music consciously so that you're fully aware of each note that you play and its pitch. This allows you to listen carefully to every note that you play, even if it's buried in an inner voice. It's kind of like hearing in 3 dimensions. Probably the single biggest mistake that piano students make is relying almost exclusively on their fingers without their ear guiding their fingers to the right keys. Relying on muscle memory, more accurately called motor memory, is inherently quite insecure, especially in slower pieces. If you only train the fingers, then you risk disengaging your mind while you play, and this creates uncertainty, especially when somebody else is listening. Train your listening skills and learn to sing the notes that you hear, and you'll be on the path to learning music with your mind as well as body. So how can you test your ear? To test your ability to hear several notes at once, play any chord in your music, playing all the notes of the chord simultaneously, and then try to sing every note. It may be quite a humbling experience to discover that you're not actively hearing each note. So if you find that you're not able to do this, realize that this is a this is perfectly normal and that it's a skill that any aspiring musician can develop. So let me give you an example. So let's say I play this chord. The question is, can you hear all the notes of the chord? So you might hear the top note, the soprano voice is A, but do you hear the other ones? Do you hear do, mi, la? So that's the skill that we want to develop. So we hear several notes at once, and can we consciously hear all of them, and can we sing them? It's a very difficult skill, actually, but it's something that can be developed. So if you want to develop it, just start with individual notes. Play a note and learn to sing it back, la, and then move on to intervals. So 2 notes played together, mi, la, I'm singing in solfege, and then finally move on to chords with 3 or more notes. And then you'll discover that you can improve just by going step by step. So how can you improve your ability to sing the notes that you hear? Fortunately, modern technology makes it quite simple to develop the skill of singing on pitch. There are free smartphone and tablet apps that are as good or even better than external expensive hardware tuners. I tried out a few, and I highly recommend an app that I found called instrumentalists for iPhone. For this particular purpose. So there's a free version, then there's a pro version, it's only $4. There's another one that I liked called Clear Tunes, also the same price. So there are a number of tuning apps available. And all you really need is the free version of an app like instrumentalists. So it has a tone generator that can play any note for you perfectly in tune. So we go to the tone generator and set it to play an A, which is this note. And then if you want to sing that note, simply have it play the note for you and then switch to the chromatic tuning here and then try to sing it back. La, and it will tell you, actually, you see the needle will tell me that I'm slightly sharp. It says to tune down. So if I sing la, and now I'm too flat, it says tune up, and here's our tone again. La. La. So it tells me la. So it tells me when I'm on pitch and when I'm a little too sharp or a little too flat. La. And now it was too flat, and I'll try a little higher this time. La. And then when you're on pitch, it turns green, and it will tell you. Then, so I think that an app like this is very useful. Once you're on pitch, then everything turns green, says got it. And if you're a beginning music student, I would just do this exercise once a day until you're able to sing any note within your vocal range on pitch. And if you're a singer, then you will need to go much further and be able to sing right on pitch with a beautiful tone as well. If you're an instrumentalist, then first just strive to make the note recognizable. So make an A recognizable as an A, B flat, sound like a B flat, and so on. And then work to become more accurate. Once you're able to sing on pitch, then you'll be ready to advance in your ear training and overall musicianship. Good luck.